Okay, so now you have your baseline bladder and bowel diary. You have your APFQ scores. You have your goals. Now let's talk about what direction to go to get help to reach your goals. There's different ways that you can go, and I just want you to know about your options. First, there's in-person pelvic floor physical therapy or occupational therapy. So specifically, if you're having dysfunction like pain, heaviness, pressure, leaking, pelvic floor physical therapy will evaluate you and help create an individualized plan for you to help achieve your goals. And if you're not having dysfunction, I still recommend a pelvic floor physical therapy evaluation to get a baseline of your muscle function and your strength and to have someone professionally evaluate your pelvic floor muscles. However, there are a variety of reasons why people will never see a pelvic floor PT, and that's okay. There are some other options out there that I want to go over with you. If you do want to see a pelvic floor PT or OT, go to myPFM.com and click on Find a PT. We have links to 4 free searchable databases. So you just put in your zip code or your city, and it pulls up the pelvic physical therapists that are registered in that database that are closest to you. So hopefully you can find someone near you that works with your insurance if you have it, or is at an affordable cost. Regardless, if you choose to do that or if you don't choose to do that, there are other options out there that let's talk about. So here we are, do it yourself online. I think this is a wonderful way to supplement even in-person physical therapy. So a lot of times we do things in the clinic, but there's a lot that happens at home. And so we're going to go through in this program, I'm going to share with you a lot of hacks and self-checks that you can actually do to yourself at home. So you can do it yourself, which is kind of this program, this pelvic floor challenge. And then there are a lot of online, like structured online programs. So for example, I have an online program called Power Over Prolapse. So for people that have prolapse, pelvic organ prolapse, it takes you through A to Z, how to manage prolapse, all of that. Also pain with sex. I have another program on that, but there's way more programs out there than just mine, so there's a lot of options out there in terms of online and virtual options. In addition to that, there's also pelvic physical therapy that will do one-on-one with you via telehealth or via virtual sessions. So many people are now doing that since COVID and the pandemic. So that can be a really nice way if you can't leave the home or if you don't have somebody near you to be able to connect with the pelvic floor PT. All right, so the next option is do nothing. This is probably my least favorite option out of all 5 here. So doing nothing is literally doing nothing. And if you were a person that was going to choose to do nothing, you wouldn't even be in this challenge. So I applaud you for being here and doing nothing. If you do nothing, then you can expect no changes, so I would not encourage that option, but it is an option out there because pelvic floor training and everything that we're going through, it's not a quick fix. Like, it's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take energy and patience. And so sometimes people just don't want to hassle with it. They want to do nothing. All right, that's their prerogative. The next option is other professionals and other providers. So there's a lot of great people that we work with. By no means is pelvic floor physical therapy the end all be all to all interventions in terms of pelvic health. So there are fitness professionals, there's nutrition professionals, there's other medical providers, and also other alternative health providers. So there's, again, a lot of other options out there to explore. But I think working with a pelvic floor physical therapist to determine what path you would benefit from would be helpful. And then the last one is change nothing. So you might think that's the same thing as do nothing, but it's not, assuming you're already on the path of health. Okay, so if you right now you have good bladder habits, and let's say you have good bowel habits, and let's say you have good eating habits and good rest habits, like you have a lot of good things going for you already. Okay, great. I wouldn't change the good things, but let's hope that you can learn some new tools here in this challenge to help you live your best life and to do what you love with who you love without pain, pressure, or leaks. And if you're not having pain, pressure, or leaks, and you want to get on a good pelvic floor training program, then I hope that you will also find some good strategies and tools here to help you do that. All right, now a few disclaimers that we need to go over. So we have red flags here. And so be really cautious about these red flags. If you have a red flag, I would recommend that you go see a provider, go see your healthcare provider. So if you have unexplained bleeding or pain, trauma, fever, chills, night sweats, unexplained weight loss or gain, altered mental status, meaning you're not oriented to person, place, or time. You might have some confusion. And then depression or suicidal thoughts. I know I just skimmed over these, but each one is so important. And if you have that, get checked out, okay? Don't try to do everything yourself. Also, this is not personal medical advice for you and does not replace evaluation by a qualified healthcare provider. I am a physical therapist, but I'm not your physical therapist. The information that I'm sharing with you is for you to increase awareness of your body, how it works, and identify when and where to get help if you need help. So always check with your healthcare provider first if you're pregnant, you have any of those red flags, or you think you have an infection. This program is not designed for pregnant people. That doesn't mean you couldn't do any of these exercises or that you can't learn anything from this program if you are pregnant. But if you are pregnant, I would suggest a lot of modifications, and maybe we'll do a future challenge for you. But this challenge is not for pregnant people. And always get clearance from your healthcare provider before starting something. Lastly, here are these red flags. So these are exercise red flags, because every day we're going to be going through one strengthening exercise and one stretching exercise. And during these exercises, I'm going to be instructing you and guiding you. But these are 5 things that you want to avoid. And so if the stretch or if the strengthening exercise is causing any of these symptoms, then I encourage you to stop and get help from a healthcare provider. So number 1 is pain. These things should not cause pain, whether it be the strengthening exercise or the stretching exercise. Now, when you're stretching, you may feel like, oh, you feel that muscle lengthening. Okay, that's fine. That's not pain. I'm talking like sharp shooting, uncomfortable pain. This should not cause any pain. Pressure or vaginal bulging. So we're going to go through a self-check later on in this challenge to see if you have a vaginal bulge, and I'm going to teach you how to check yourself. But if you have pressure or a vaginal bulge with any of the activities, I would encourage you to avoid those activities for now. Popping or uncontrolled movements. That is talking about joint popping. So for those of us that are very flexible, and we call it hypermobility, sometimes we can do movements where we have joint popping or where we're not controlling the movement. And that doesn't just happen with hypermobile people. It can happen with other dysfunctions too, but that gives you a sense of what I'm talking about there. And then pee leaks. So if you're doing an exercise that we're going over, and if you have pee leaking during that exercise, stop it. These are signs that your pelvic floor muscles and your core may not be managing that pressure well. And so that doesn't mean you can't ever do that activity, but really kind of backing off from that and determining how you're doing it, and work out strategies so that you can build back up to that activity. And then the same thing goes with poop or gas leaks. So if you're doing one of the activities or stretches or exercises that I have you doing, and you have poop or gas that leaks out, again, that may be a sign that you're not managing that pressure well, and that you might want to back up and build up to that activity. So I hope that those tips and that information was helpful. I'm so excited still that you're here and I'm ready to get into the pelvic floor muscle training. So stay tuned for our next module. You made it through module 1.